Tuesday was a big day in America. I don't know what happened. We're going to talk about the NFL trade deadline.
It's so much less stressful doing the NFL trade deadline on the West Coast, though, because everything's over.
Oh, yeah.
By 1 p.m. Although it is more stressful because you have to wake up a lot earlier. Because by the time
is that better though?
I mean, I don't know. Like, you have the rest of your day.
Done.
Yeah, you've got the rest of your day.
I mean, but I'm also biased. So West Coast, West Coast. Okay, but we're going to start with what I think the most shocking thing to me is that the Cowboys were buyers, not sellers. WTF, you guys. The Cowboys are doing something extremely delusional. They refuse to give up despite everything trending in the wrong direction. They traded for a wide receiver, Jonathan Mingo, and a 7th-round pick, and gave the Panthers a 4th-round pick. Now, let me just give you some notes on Jonathan Mingo. In 24 games, so he's in his 2nd season, he does not have a career touchdown. No. He has 55 catches, 539 yards, and no touchdowns, you guys. No touchdowns. And just to put this into perspective, the Titans got a conditional 5th-round pick for DeAndre Hopkins from the Chiefs, who is a much better player than Mingo. This is crazy. This was the Cowboys' big get.
It's even crazier when you consider who the Cowboys have been able to get in the 4th round and therefore what they forfeited. Dak Prescott is a 4th-round pick.
Yes.
There have been multiple Cowboys starters because the Cowboys do, for all of the things that they do wrong, what they do right is draft.
Which is why they should have stocked up on draft picks.
It was an overpay. I think it was a good call to go get a receiver, I guess. But then in the same breath, you're going to talk about how Dak Prescott's season may be over. He still hasn't been put on IR, by the way.
No, he did get put on, I think, yesterday.
No, he still hasn't. As of an hour ago, he was not. The Cowboys did not actually put him on IR yet.
So they talked about putting him on IR yesterday.
Yes.
But they're also debating, is he going to get season-ending surgery? He's dealing with a major hamstring issue where part of his tendon tore off the bone.
Yes.
That's not an easy, he'll be back and he'll be at full strength. So, not only did they not stock up on draft picks, which is what they should have done because it feels like, okay, we're in a semi-rebuild situation, but they think they could still win even though they just lost Dak.
They're just trying to stay relevant. That is all Jerry Jones ever wants to do, is be relevant. If you think that the Cowboys are trying to actually win, you're deluding yourself. They are trying to stay in the headlines. They are trying to stay relevant. And they are going to hammer the whole, we're 5-1 with Cooper Rush at quarterback till the cows come home. But this is exactly what we've come to expect out of the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, yes, did it make all of the sense in the world to sell off some pieces and offload some different contracts that are going to come down the pipe and stockpile draft picks? Because, again, that is something that this team does very, very well. Sure. Were they ever going to do that and admit in week 10 that this was a lost season? Of course not. That is not Jerry Jones. That is not the Dallas Cowboys. And I mean, for all intents and purposes, Cooper Rush is an excellent backup. They are going to be able to sneak through some wins, and you needed another receiver. But you overpaid for Jonathan Mingo, and you don't know what he can be, but he is going to have to be immediately impactful given the fact that the only person now on this offense is CeeDee Lamb without Dak Prescott, by the way.
Yeah, which is crazy. I just want to remind people, that run that you went on with Cooper Rush in 2022 is a big difference. The Cowboys then had a really solid run game. In 2022, they were 2nd in rushing touchdowns. They were 9th in rushing yards per game. Now they have the 2nd worst rushing yards per game, and they are tied for last in rushing touchdowns. Right. So my question is, what do you think you're going to be able to do with this team when you had Dak Prescott, who was an MVP finalist last season, and he's been struggling this year? Yeah. So if you can't do it with your starter, why do you think you're going to be able to do it with your backup when the team was in a completely different situation last time he came in?
That's not the context that Jerry Jones is worried about, Alex. He's not going to say
zero cents.
No,
0 cents.
No, they're trying to stay relevant. That is what the Dallas Cowboys do, and will continue to do. And we're going to see. Dak is currently seeking a second opinion. That is, but Ian Rappaport just came out literally right before we got on saying it is thought to be season ending. It looks like his season's over. He's going to have surgery.
That's what it is.
But he still is going to get a second opinion. But this also comes after the waiver wire was due already to declare whether or not these guys were on IR, and Cowboys still haven't put Dak Prescott. But that should be coming. It's just, they're not normal.
They're not. Okay, Carm, what do you grade this trade?
Oh, God.
I'm going to give this trade an F because they should have been sellers, not buyers.
Yeah.
The whole situation to me is a fail.
I'm still going to give it a D because, like, again, this is going to conceivably help Cooper Rush because he's going to be in a better situation because there is another receiver on the field, but I'm not going to go beyond that.
Yeah. Okay. F, failed situation for me. D for Carmen. Let's move on to some teams that did make some good moves, though. And we're going to start with the Lions landing Zadarius Smith from the Browns, which fills that Aiden Hutchinson hole this season. That was kind of like the only damper that the Lions had.
It's a massive
one,
but yes.
Massive. This is already a complete powerhouse team. That was a huge blow, losing Hutchinson. But again, this team has Super Bowl expectations. Jared Goff is in the MVP conversation. And this is a situation that if you can jump on it, you have to. You're filling the hole, the exact hole that you need to keep on pace. And they clearly know they are that team and can be that team and have the potential to reach that Super Bowl level.
I mean, they are toying with their food offensively.
Yes.
Defensively, they've done some really interesting things after losing Aiden Hutchinson because there is no replacing Aiden Hutchinson.
No.
He still leads the league in pressures, by the way.
Even though he's out.
Yes.
And he's missed.
And he's missed the last month and a half.
That's crazy.
It's wild.
Yeah, no, he was on pace for defensive player of the year.
We were really robbed of a very special season from Aiden Hutchinson. So there is no replacing him. But what was interesting is in the interim, before they went out and made this move, they actually increased their blitz rate to kind of account for the fact that they weren't banking on getting pressure with 4 anymore. So you now see that, and like their whole offensive kind of strategy changed. They blitzed more. They blitzed from different levels of the defense. And it was working because they're still a very good defense and complemented by an offense that can score 30 points in their sleep.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to be very interested to see, though, because when Aiden Hutchinson was in the lineup, this entire defensive line was based on isolating a really good matchup for him. So basically trying to take attention away, and that's a shout out to Ali McNeil, to DJ Reader, taking attention away from the offensive line and making them contend with those guys on the interior so that Aiden Hutchinson could be one-on-one. Well, then since Aiden Hutchinson went out, again, you've got more guys involved in the rush. You're blitzing more. Are you going to continue doing that even with Zadarius Smith because he isn't the player that Aiden Hutchinson is?
I mean, no one can be at this point.
Or are you going to revert back to, all right, we're going to try to get Zadarius Smith as many good matchups as we possibly can, as many of those one-on-one type things off the edge? Is that going to be are we going to see an adjustment going forward? And I think there will be some adjustment, or you just add him into the defense as it currently is. You put him into these blitz packages and everything like that. It's just funny to me too that like Zadarius Smith is just collecting the NFC North like he's the Ash Pokemon, like Ash in Pokemon of the NFC North. He's collecting NFC North teams.
Love that.
Got to catch them all. He's got to get to the Bears after this. But I do think that this is going to just fortify the Detroit Lions that much more. And I mean, I don't know who's going to be able to stop them. Like, they're going to make the postseason. They should win the NFC North.
Yeah.
They should be the first seed in the NFC. I think they're the best team in the league. We're going to see if that translates finally to a Super Bowl for Detroit. I would love to see it.
I think a lot of people would. So what would you grade this trade?
Oh, this is the best possible person you could have gotten without giving up too much.
Yeah.
That's the caveat here. Yep. Like, if you were to get a Max Crosby, then you're forfeiting so much future capital. So I'm giving this an A.
Yeah, same. I'm also giving this an A. Because that was the biggest thing for the Lions is like, we don't want to give up anything because we are in such a great place right now. How can we
draft
add?
So well?
Yeah, how can we add without losing our future and what we have right now that's making us such a great team?
They weren't willing to sell their souls
for
this. And I think that was the right call, again, because Brad Holmes has such a wonderful track record in the draft.
Yeah. All right. We're like same page. Let's move on to Mike Williams to the Steelers. The Jets traded Mike Williams to the Steelers, and he had some interesting words about playing with Rodgers this week. Take a listen.
Obviously, going over there after ACL, not having OTAs, training camp, all that to get the chemistry right with Aaron and that. He's real detailed, like what he like. So I feel like me not being able to go in there and transition in as quick probably what went wrong.
could feel he was sugarcoating that a little bit.
He's right.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have enough time to find chemistry and build the trust with Rodgers. Obviously, the situations with the injuries, but then also Rodgers missed mandatory minicamp, and in these situations is the exact reason and issue why you need to be there for every mandatory situation when you have new guys with the team, when you need to build that chemistry, when you need to build that trust. But honestly, Mike Williams should be thanking the Jets. He is in a much better situation. The Steelers are one of the better franchises, not a dysfunctional franchise like the Jets. They have a solid quarterback situation, upgrade. They have a Hall of Fame coach, great defense. They're in the playoff picture. I don't think it changes a ton, but it'll help the Steelers having kind of another veteran wide receiver in the room.
I mean, the hard part about playing with Aaron Rodgers is that there is so much detail that goes into it, and it really does take a lot of time. And like Mike Williams wouldn't have been there for mandatory minicamp either. Like I get that point because he missed a lot of training camp.
Yeah.
All of that coming off of that injury. And it's also, though, and I've talked about this before, all the reports that I've really seen from, and I haven't been at practice to know for myself, but it doesn't seem as if Aaron Rodgers really is taking these guys aside when like the first team offense isn't on the field and like really working through them. And maybe he is. But like it is an extremely hard thing to be a trusted receiver by Aaron Rodgers. And it really does come with reps. And that's what was so disappointing about so much of Aaron Rodgers missing out last year and then, you know, being in and out of OTAs.
Yeah.
And then training camp comes around and it just doesn't seem like he's in for the, all right, I'm going to help you get on the same page with me. He's just expecting you to be on the same page with him. And he's like, this is how we're going to do things. You fit in. And it's hard to do that when you don't have the reps. So I get it from Mike Williams' perspective. He honestly got a couple more targets than I thought he would after he had that drop a couple weeks ago. I do really like him on the Steelers too, because he does exactly what Russell Wilson wants to do. Mike Williams is that true X kind of outside receiver. Russell Wilson wants to throw outside the numbers down the field. That's exactly what Russell Wilson wants to do. He can do it to George Pickens. And now there's another threat on that offense in Pittsburgh. And Mike Williams, up until this point in the season, has 7 catches, gaining 15 or more yards. So this is something that, again, is going to fit right in with this Pittsburgh offense. And it's still a defensive-led team. But if you can get some true offensive production, I don't just see them finishing with a winning record again and eking into the playoffs. I see there could be a legitimate playoff run with the way that they're playing now if they get more offensive production.
Yeah. I mean, they're, ahead in the AFC North right now? Like, they're a solid team. They're a solid team.
They're
one
always
of the better
solid. This is like a chance for them
franchises,
to be
Hall
really
of Fame
good.
coach. Yeah. Okay. What would you grade this trade?
B+.
That's exactly what I had.
Oh, okay.
That's exactly what I had. Okay, real quick. We'll get to this one real quick. Commanders trade for Marshawn Lattimore.
This is the best trade.
This is the best one. Yeah. Didn't have a huge need, but just a great player to help boost their defense.
I would argue they had a huge need at corner. Their secondary is not
go off.
what it needs to be.
Okay.
Now you're going to put Marshawn Lattimore, 4-time Pro Bowler.
Yep.
You're going to hope you're going to get the Marshawn Lattimore from like 2021.
Okay.
More than the last couple of seasons. He's played 17 games over the last 2 seasons leading into this year.
Okay.
Had some injury issues. But if you get the Marshawn Lattimore that's closer to what you had in 2021, he now is opposite Mike Sanders still, who's a wonderful young corner in Washington. And he ups the value of this Washington secondary, which is something that was a huge concern for them coming into this season, even this season in general. And now with the Washington Commanders playing as well as they are offensively with Jaden Daniels, their rookie quarterback, this defense can now kind of sustain this success for them and not have the Commanders have to go out and score 35 points a game, although we've seen them be capable of that. Now you've got a defense that you can kind of lean on a little bit more because that defensive line is decently well. Their offensive line, for that matter, is really, really good. But you have the secondary now that's shored up a little bit with the splashiest trade at the trade deadline.
All right, what would you grade this trade?
Oh, it's an A.
Yeah, I also have an A.
I hate that they're breaking up the Marshawn Lattimore-Mike Evans rivalry, but it could still happen in the postseason. Could still happen, but I'll miss that.